Hello everyone, welcome to this class on relative clauses. So this may be something that you have used it in your writing already or you're very familiar with it. To some, you may need a recap on this. So our agenda today will be what are relative clauses, the functions of them, relative pronouns, defining and non-defining clauses, and relative pronouns and the prepositions. And we'll also look at that versus which. Are these relative pronouns interchangeable? First of all, let's look at relative clauses. Now, what are they? Now, essentially, they're adjective clauses. So if you think of adjectives, what do? They describe, they give you more information, okay, about a noun. So this clause means a group of words, okay, so it contains a verb. So here, relative clauses essentially are adjective clauses that give you more information about a noun in the main clause. And these clauses would follow the noun that they describe. So here are 5 examples I'd like to show you. So let's go through them. I bought a car that can go really fast. Now here you see these underlined clauses. These are the relative clauses. So that can go really fast. So let me ask you, so in this sentence, what can go really fast? Of course, the car, okay? So a car here is what we want to add more information to it, and we've added this clause, a group of words, to add more information. So I bought a car. So I give you more information. It can go really fast. That can go really fast. Second example, I'm looking for a secretary. Can you give me more information on what type of secretary you're looking for? So here we added this relative clause that adds more information to the secretary that I'm looking for. Who can use a computer well? Amazing. So I'll look for that secretary for you, okay? So this is the noun that this relative clause here adds more information to. Okay, the third example, she has a son. Okay, so give me more information maybe. That is a doctor. So we know a bit more about the son. Did you see the letter? Oh, which letter? Which came today? So which came today would be the relative clause that tells me a bit more about the letter. Lastly, freezers are places for what? Where people keep their ice cream. Okay, so this is more information about these places we're talking about here. Now, what are the functions of relative clauses? So the obvious one, or the most common one, would be that it actually helps you create more interesting sentences. Now, let's look at these 2 examples here. We got 2 sentences. The boy is tired. And the boy is carrying a heavy backpack. So we got the boy in the first sentence, and then we got the same boy in the second sentence that is carrying a heavy backpack, okay? So here, grammatically, both are correct, but not very interesting. So it's also not very good for fluent speech. If you're talking, the boy's tired, and the boy's carrying a heavy bag, and the boy is this, and the boy is that. So let's combine them. Using relative clauses actually helps you combine these 2 less interesting sentences here. So since we have the common noun here, the boy, so we can do that. And when we do that, we actually create a complex sentence which you can use in your writing. That would boost your writing mark. So let's look at how, another function of relative clauses I like to talk about is that if you're learning a language and you don't know how to describe something, what's the name of something. Let's say you want to talk about an object that you don't have any idea what it's called, okay? I lost that thing that you used to control the television. So I'm trying to describe this thing, and using this relative clause here, although I don't know the name of the item, you probably know by now what it is called, okay? But I can actually describe it. So I lost that thing. What is that thing? Give me more information. That you used to control the television. So what is the answer to this? Of course, is right here, okay? A remote control. Okay, so that's the thing. So for an English learner, you could be like, oh, what's that thing called that you used to control the television? And the person you're talking to hopefully would know the answer to what you're trying to think about, would say, oh, the remote control. Therefore, you learn, a new word. Another example, the same thing. What is that thing where you cook meat over an open fire? So what's your answer? Oh, a grill right here. Okay, so that's the second function. Now, coming back to relative clauses as to how to actually create them. So here are 4 easy steps, okay? Step number 1, you need to find a common denominator in both sentences. So the common noun here is the boy, okay? So I got it highlighted in red. Step 2 is that we need to replace one of the nouns with the appropriate relative pronouns, which I will actually elaborate on later on. So the boy is tired. The boy is carrying a heavy backpack. Now let's choose this one for now, okay, to actually change this one into a relative clause. Now the boy here, the appropriate relative pronoun would be who. Okay, who actually is used to refer to a person. Okay, so we have now changed this second sentence into a relative clause right here. Okay, so who is carrying a heavy backpack is a relative clause. Now step 3, what do? We got the first sentence here, the boy is tired, and then we just plug in the relative clause, combine them. So how do we actually do that? So you see, you need to position this relative pronoun right behind the noun it is actually referring to, since we are actually referring to the boy with who, right? So we place who right behind the boy. So we got the boy, and we pluck this whole thing in here, the relative clause, the boy who is carrying a heavy backpack, and we finish off the sentence here with is tired. Now let's read this combined sentence. The boy who's carrying a heavy backpack is tired. That is quite some sentence right there, but much better than the boy is tired. The boy is carrying a heavy backpack. Now, next I'd like to talk a bit about relative pronouns. You would need to know all these relative pronouns, the who, which, whose, whom, that, when, and where. The usages are like this. So for who, it's used for people. The example here, the woman. Now we want to refer to this person, woman, which is the person, who called yesterday wants to buy a house, okay? Which can be used for things and animals. Did you see the letter? We're talking about the letter which came today. Or the puppy which, so we're referring to the puppy here, okay? Now whose is used for possessions of people and animals, even for dead objects, okay? So he's a man whose opinion I respect. So this opinion belongs to this man, so we use whose opinion, okay? She's the student whose handwriting is the best in my class. Now we use whose here because this handwriting belongs to the student, okay? Preceding this pronoun. Now I want to highlight this example here. The house whose roof is broken belongs to my uncle. A lot of my students would say, what? The house is not a person, why are you using whose, okay? But it actually is grammatically correct. So this roof belongs to the house, okay? So you actually use whose here, okay? Now whom would be used for people when this person is actually used as object of the verb here. Now let's look at this example. The author whom you criticize in your review has written a letter in reply. So you actually criticize somebody. You criticize somebody, so that somebody would be the object of your criticism. Yes? So here the author is whom you criticize. So here the author is actually the object of your criticism. So you use whom here. And that is used for people, things, and animals. Compared with which here, which you can use for things and animals, but here that you can actually use it for people, okay? The girl that we met in France has sent us a card. When is used for a moment in time. For example, Christmas Day is a day when people enjoy, or March is a month when people usually have their Easter holiday. Where it refers to a particular place. So if you're referring to a place, for example, here we visited the house where our father was born. So we're referring to the house, the place we're talking about here. Now, coming to defining and non-defining clauses, this is especially important. Some students might be a little confused by the differences, so let's pay attention to this. Defining clauses, it actually is necessary information that cannot be omitted. Okay, so this is a clause that you cannot take out. It specifies or defines a person, thing, or animal that you're talking about, okay? No comma should be used. No comma is used to separate this clause from the rest of the sentence. Now it's good to look at examples. So I have a friend, okay? Who is that friend? It's very unclear to me. So this clause here, relative clause, is actually a defining clause because I need it. It's necessary. You see, it's necessary, okay? So I have a friend who spent a year at a British university, okay? I also added this color code here, not to confuse you, but just to add a few more, some more information on formality of the usage here, okay? So if I say I have a friend who spent a year at a British university, that would be more formal. If I use that, it's a bit more informal. Second example, the boy whom is surrounded by all the girls is popular in his school. Here, the boy. If I take out this part here, it will not make sense. The boy is popular in his school. It's very unclear, okay? Now it's necessary that we have who is surrounded by all the girls, okay? So this is called a defining clause, okay? I'm going to wear the skirt, which I bought in London. Okay, so this is very important that we have this relative clause here. So this is called defining clause, because if I'm just going to say I'm going to wear the skirt, it's very unclear. Now coming to non-defining clauses. Non-defining clauses are actually clauses that are additional information, which is unnecessary. which I will elaborate on the next